Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this is going to be part 2 of machining the lead screw for my lathe. But I've been thinking about people and Bitcoin, and you know, Bitcoin seems to be counterintuitive to a currency. Supposedly, back in the early days of currency, they had rolled out a piece of paper. There's $1 and it's backed by silver, you know, or something. It's got a government behind it. Today, nothing. It's not backed by anything but just the government saying you'll get something for your dollar. But who backs Bitcoin? Who do you go to with your Bitcoin and say, okay, I want to convert this to dollars? You know, what if the price of it goes clean to nothing? Who's responsible? You know, I don't know. It just doesn't smell right to me. I guess I'm too cynical, and I guess that's the way it goes. You know, people do things based on emotion mostly instead of logic, or at least the younger you are, the more you make your decisions based on emotion. And after you've been taken a few times, you know, by the time you're 40 or 50, you've been taken enough times that you sort of favor doing your decisions based on logic and facts. It's kind of funny how people can see something and they know there's no logic to it, and they don't have any facts to back it up, but based on their emotion they believe it. You know, it's a really weird thing about people. Probably dogs and cats and things like that are smarter and don't do stuff like that. Oh well, I talked on long enough. Let's go ahead and finish up this lead screw project. Today's this part of the episode, or episode 2 here, whatever it is going to be the hard part, where I got to cut the groove down the lead screw, right? So let's get on with it. One of my daily jobs is sweeping up the dog hair. And look at that. Daisy hasn't even made up her bed today. All that stuff scattered everywhere. Life for rednecks just gets harder and harder. Well, I guess that'll pass. Of course, you know who made the bed up. Not Daisy. Alright, so it's been actually 2 or 3 days since I came over here and moved everything off the table and got things ready to go, because I discovered that I could hold the lead screw with collet blocks, and that would keep me from misaligning the cut, as I had to pick the cutter up and move over obstacles and such. The obstacles, of course, are going to be these guys, and then once I've cut past it, I'll need to move this and cut the spot that was inside it, if you understand what I mean. But I only had 1 3/4 inch collet, so I had to go get one, and that wasn't just exactly as easy as it looked like. First day I went to get one, they didn't have them in stock, and they ordered them from the warehouse downtown. Now you know how that goes, ordering it from that warehouse downtown. And so anyway, they ordered it from the warehouse downtown, and I went back at 2:30 and they didn't have it, because the guy told me they had just a bunch of idiots working at the warehouse. I have to take his word for that. Anyway, so the next day when I went back and got the collet, he managed to get them to deliver it, and I got a tiny little end mill, 1/8 inch, because that's the size the slot's going to be. And I ordered 2 or 3 of them to come from Zorro. I figure by the time I break that one, the ones from Zorro will be here. At least I think so. So anyway, to make a long story short, well, no, I'm going to make the long story longer. The fact of the matter is that the next day was such a nice day that I went to the range, and I didn't work on this at all. And then the day after that, the boss lady had something for me to do, and so we did that, and so on. So Anyway, the story is that this block and this block, even though they're not the same shape, they're the same dimensions from flat spot to flat spot, and flat spot to flat spot. I just proved that with this little micrometer here. And so what I'm going to do, you can see that this screw sticks like over 2 feet off the end of the table. And I think that probably I'll start on this end of the screw, but I think I'm going to have to turn the screw around because the power feed on this end gets awful close to the frame of this machine on this end, and I can feed a whole lot further on this other end. So I don't know. No, I can't get the sucker to go over here. I don't have enough clearance, so we're going to just have to work with what we got here. And that means we'll be working on this end. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you guys wasn't exactly what I'm setting up here. I'll set that up in a minute. I've been watching various videos and such, and you know, we're living in a highly technical age that's incredibly fortunate for us, especially us, like the guys that like to tinker, because there's all kind of machines that are computer controlled, can do all kind of fantastic stuff. You got 3D printers, you got CNC, you got programmable logic controllers. Today I just finished watching the video by AVE where he did his tear apart thing on a programmable logic controller, which normally referred to as PLCs, and he put it back together and it actually worked. And then he showed programming a little ladder logic with it, and each one of those companies has got a little bit of difference in how they do their ladder logic, but it's all pretty much the same. Like, it's just symbols for a bunch of switches and stuff, all wired together. You have imaginary wires. And you guys saw, I'm sure Mr. Pete made printed a gear for his Craftsman lathe, which was the same gear that I made out of metal, I don't know, some months back. So there's lots of different ways to skin a cat. Myself, I'm really tempted by the idea of the of the PLC, even though I don't have anything to control with it, you know. Last year or year before last, I bought actually 2 Arduinos. I don't know why I bought 2, but I bought 2 because they were cheap, I guess. And I hooked one of them up to a stepper motor, and first time around I got the wrong controller. I guess it wasn't able to handle the power of the stepper motor, or drew or something. So I burned up 1 or 2 of the controllers, and then I figured out what to do and how to do it right, and I could control the stepper motor and all that sort of thing and run it with an Arduino. But I didn't have anything to control, you know. I think that I watched AVE set up a stepper motor, a spin dexter. He put a stepper motor on a spin dexter, him or somebody. I don't know who it was now, it's been too long. And they ran that spin dexter with a stepper motor. And then I think Max Runout has done some of the same thing over on his channel. And I'm sort of getting the bug to play with some of this stuff again. So I may wind up buying a PLC just to play with. You never know. Anyway, they're a lot cheaper than they used to be. The ones we used in the evil polluting refinery were many thousands of dollars, you know. So anyway, now that I've bored you with all that, I'm going to try to set up this screw so I can start cutting on that on the keyway. It's like a 4-foot keyway. That's a long one, and I don't have a lot of room here. I may have to cut down halfway and flip the thing around and recenter everything, but I'm going to try to get everything centered up here properly, and then I'll bring you guys back out of your nap. So take a little electronic microsecond nap. Alright, I've got a 1/8 inch mill set up in here. I'm going to try to I'm thinking of making a 50 thousandths cut. After all, you're supposed to be able to go half the diameter, and that's a little less than half the diameter. maybe I should bring it up and do about a 25 thousandths cut. But anyway, I'm going to cut back until these brackets get in, these hold downs get in the way. And I'm going to cut it to the finished depth that far. Then I'm going to bring it up and come over and zoom back out. I'll bring it up and over this and then start down here and make this really long piece. When I've got that cut, I'll loosen this collet, shove the rod forward a little bit, and finish the piece that didn't get cut in here, and then come down and extend this end a little bit. That's going to be different. Now there's only so far that I can move that. Once I get over to about the end of the table, I'll run into the brackets for the power feed, and whatever I've cut back this way, that'll be about the end of it. So then I'm going to have to turn the screw around and start from the other direction. I've got this guy here is holding up against it so it is a stop, so that I can put the screw right back where it's at. And I've got a stop down here, right there, to put the screw back where it's at. So I've done a lot of running up and down here with a dial indicator, and it wiggles, you know, because it comes over those little ridges. But I measure the high point every time, and I think I'm within about a 1/2 thousandth anyway. So if I don't break an end mill in a couple of hours, or 3 hours or something, I might have the thing cut down. I think I'll go to maybe 25 thousandths depth of cut, because I'm getting kind of chicken. I've only got the one end mill right now, so I'd rather not break my only end mill really this soon into it. So here we are. That's actually 24 thousandths depths of cut, and I'll just get started and start cutting on it. I guess I can position you guys on the other side. With the shipping and the purchase price together, I got about $95 in that lead screw. Not to mention about another, I don't know, $40 in the end mill and the collet. Of course, the collet will stay with me when the end mill's long gone. So I don't really want to mess up on the lead screw, because, like I say, about 95 bucks would run down the drain. I guess the very worst I could do is have to go and have some professional machinist cut the keyway on the other side of the stupid thing, you know. But personally, I'm going to give it a shot. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, according to my charts, I could feed this thing at 10 inches a minute. Seems like really fast, so I'm going to start out maybe an inch a minute, but I'm going to put it on the power feed so that I can stand there and squirt it with lubricant. And I'll bring you guys back when things are way further down the line. Well, things have been working out quite well, and I've cut this piece here down to here. Couldn't get any closer to this hold down. And then over on the other side there, I've cut from here down to there. I don't know if you can see the keyway or not, but you might can. Anyway, that part's finished. Tomorrow I will come back and move this down a little bit and cut the rest of it that was inside of the collet, and then I maybe can move this rod down, you know, just a little bit, but it's going to hit here, and when I've moved it down that far, well, then I'll have to turn the thing end for end. But I've got a little stop set up here. Let's see if you can see it. got a stop set up right there and a stop set up down there that I can butt the thing up against, and everything should take off right where I left it. It's past 9 o'clock and I'm through for the day, so we'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, here we are on the next day after I've started. I've moved the collet backwards and cut the piece that was inside the collet, so I've got right there probably a good foot of it right there cut. Not to mention it goes way down there. I would have to say I've got 20 inches of it cut, so that's almost half. And my next step, now that I've cut this end here, is to move down here to this next section and cut this part here. Now you can see I've got stuff hanging out, metal hanging out in the air, and that does cause a little bit of chatter, but out here in the middle I can just stuff this brush up on it like that, stops the chatter. Down at the other end I just grabbed it with my hand and it stopped the chatter. There's one thing that you're going to have to watch when you mess with end mills. If you touch it, you're going to be cut. It may not feel like you was cut, but you're cut. This thing's sitting still here and I'm working around under it, and I reached up and bumped my hand on it. The machine's not running, but that don't mean the end mill's not sharp as a razor anyway. You don't even feel the cut. You just get cut. Alright, so while you guys are taking another microsecond of electronic nap, I'm going to cut as much of that down there as I can. And then I guess I may have to turn the thing over. Although I discovered something really wonderful. If you'll see, this end is actually up on top of that bracket, and it clears. It clears just maybe 5 or 10 thousandths, but it clears. So if I can keep shoving it this way, I can probably cut another foot of it. I'll be able to put the collet around in the front of it, and I think that it's going to work out really, really nice. I know it can't get past that high spot right there, but still that's another 10 inches, you know, of movement without having to change the other end down there. Alright, off to sleep with you guys. Everything's been repositioned so I can cut from the outboard end inwards, and I'm on the last cut now. It's about 10,000 feet cut. I don't know for sure if this is going to work out or not, because I had this all worked out in my head that I would only loosen one collet and move it and tighten it back down. So I got down to about 31 inches from the outboard end, and I loosened one collet and moved it, and then I went down and loosened the other collet. And I had a heck of a time getting the thing lined up where it looked like the slot was right back on top again. I discovered that the slick end of the end mill, the shank end of it, was a nice tight fit right between the crests of the threads. So I turned it upside down in the collet and used that to align the lead screw to get myself back on track. But if there's a tight spot, it's going to be 31 inches from the outboard end. Every now and then, Mr. Bozo takes total control of me. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. We're getting closer to finish soon. I've got a big deburring job to do as soon as I get through with the cutting, and I've got to drill a hole in the end. The hole in the end is used for setting the clutch, lead screw clutch, and I've never had to adjust it but just one time, so still I'm going to put the hole there. Okay, I've machined the bearing surface, I've cut the keyway in it, drilled a hole in the end for setting the clutch, you know, the little rod to hold the weight to set the clutch. And I've deburred the heck out of it, so I suppose it's about time to put it in. Although it looks like I've left some dirt in it there. Hang on. I need to blow the dirt out of it there. I'll be right back. Alright, I thought I saw some dirt down in the keyway there, so I blew it out. There's a little bit of dirt or oil or something. I don't know what it was, but I didn't want it there. We'll line this thing up, which may be easier said than done. You close the leads, the half nuts, and see if that won't help me come to the right spot. There, it went through there. And in with the clutch, and the lead screw fit in there. All I got to do now is get the bearing and put it back on there. And I know that I've left all the pieces, most of them handy. Some are over here in the drawer. Oh, let's see here. Here's the inner bearing. Goes on here. And that goes on here. The other piece of bearing. Be sure to get your hands greasy. There's that. Alright, now then. Cap screws. See them? Oh, there they are down here. Put it in too far. There we go. Here's the nut, goes on the end of it. Need an adjustable spanner right here. I'm going to check, make sure you guys can even see that far. Maybe I should move this thing in a little. There, now you can see, I know, I think. Yes, I really know, but I think so. How's that? And this thing's only got to be just tight enough to take all the slack out. Okay. Let's see here. That's where it starts tightening up. That's where I had to put a wrench on it the last time to hold it while I was unscrewing it. Maybe this time we can do it without a wrench. Just want to take exactly all the slack out of it. No real tightness. Now, no slack left. No slack yet. No slack now. Okay, so right here. And there it is, turning away. And the important part is that slot Let me move the camera handheld. The important thing is that slot, because that's what powers the cross feed. And there you go, feeding away. And feed out of there. Got the half nuts on it. And it's feeding that way. So, I'm going to call that a success. Chances are there'll be a joke after all this. I was somewhat worried about it though because of my bozo, but apparently it didn't do anything that I'm going to have to pay for. So we'll call it a quit right here. Oh man, just look how that little booger shines. Shiny new one. All the tops of the threads are square. That's great. Well, this guy goes in the bar there and sits down at the bar, and he looks at the bartender and says, "Hey," he says, "how'd you like to hear a redneck joke?" The bartender looks at him and he points at this big burly policeman over the door, and he says, "Well," he says, "that guy over there is a redneck." And he points down to the end of the bar, and there's a big old guy down there, and he says, "That guy's a redneck." The bartender says, "And me, I'm a redneck too." He says, "You sure you want to tell that joke?" The guy looks at the bartender a minute and he says, "No," he says, "I don't think I want to have to explain it 3 times. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.